You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hello, Time to Level Up listeners. Welcome back. So this week, I have a guest expert, Lorraine Ball, who, if you are from Indianapolis, may know that she is a legend. So I looked up her bio to help kind of do this intro. And the first line in her bio is ringleader, head honcho, top cat, take your pick. After spending too many years in the corporate world, Lorraine was tired of bureaucracy, the sameness, and the bad coffee. So she sounds like a woman I would love. And I do love her. This is not my first conversation with her. We've had several. I've actually been on her podcast. But whenever I talk to her, I just leave the conversation feeling jazzed and juiced up about marketing. And all of my clients, whether they are entrepreneurs or corporate climbers or professionals, we all have to pay attention to marketing because we are either marketing ourselves or our business or both. So I guarantee you will walk away with some golden nuggets from this conversation. So get out your notebook, buckle up, sit back, and listen in to my conversation with Lorraine. Hello, my Time to Level Up listeners. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have with me Lorraine Ball, and I am going to let her introduce herself. She's been around a while, so I'm sure she's introduced herself before, and she probably will do it way better than I am.
Awesome. Well, Andrea, it is so nice to be here. And yeah, giving me a chance to talk about myself, I love that. Now, I am a digital marketing strategist. I love all things digital marketing. I ran an agency for a number of years, and these days I am focused mostly on my podcast and on the Digital Toolbox, which is my online training platform, helping businesses use digital tools to grow.
I love that. And this is something that everybody, no matter who they are or what they do, right, needs. Even, I've even found that non-business owners, so people that are working more in a corporate role, they are marketing themselves all the time. So.
Absolutely. Part of that is, and you don't really think about it, but you may be marketing yourself for your next job or your next opportunity, or even if you want to stay in the same company. And this goes back to my corporate days, well before social media. If I wanted to get promoted, I needed to have a strategy to put myself in the right places and on the right teams and present myself in a way that made me an appropriate candidate and the natural choice for whatever it was I wanted to do.
Yes, because you don't want them to question who you are, right? And what you're about and what you stand for.
I actually went into my boss's office one time with my resume, but I took my name off the top of it and I slapped it on his desk and I said, here's the deal. This person is the best choice for the job that you currently have open. Look at those credentials. X number of years in the industry, X number of years outside the industry, this. You want to hire that person. And he's like, well, that's interesting. I said, that's my resume.
Did you get the promotion? Did you get it?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
That's a good story. I love that. I love it.
It's about marketing, and marketing is about presenting information in a way that makes your product or your service attractive and real to the person you want to buy.
Totally true. Attractive and real to the person you want to buy. Okay. So what, if you had to tell someone, give someone maybe 3 things about marketing, what 3 tips would you give?
Number 1, I would absolutely say that marketing starts with your customer. It does not start with you. And you have to pick an ideal client. And everyone is not your customer. I know you think, but these people and that people, there is a huge difference between the people that write you checks and the people that really are ideal clients. And until you understand that, it is impossible to do marketing because you don't know who you're talking to.
How do you figure out the ideal people?
So there's a couple of ways around it. And I'm going to talk about professional services for a moment, because I think a lot of your listeners are probably in that realm. What I would recommend that you do is make a list of your clients and now answer this one question. If I could only do business with 3 of these customers, who would I pick? And when you get that list of 3, then what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, why? What is it about those 3 customers? What do they share in common? Now, I used to do this with the agency team, and it was always a really fun conversation because not all of us agreed. And so there were some really interesting things that kind of came out of that. Number 1, the common thing for us across the board, over and over again, we saw customers that valued what we did and valued our expertise. Customers that were willing to invest both their money and their time in the process. And then we had some where we didn't agree. And that was actually also really helpful because we actually did some reassignments. Everybody hated working with Irene, except for Raven. She liked Irene. So Raven, congratulations. You're the new account exec for Irene.
Right. Why not?
Yeah, why not? But we also, that conversation also led us to understand, you know what? We enjoy the customers we're good at. Well, what is it that makes it good? Well, sometimes it's an industry. We discovered we were good with professional services, bad with e-commerce. We were good with home services. We struggled with sometimes some certain types of life coaches because it was too soft and fuzzy, and we were a more literal business. And so when we started doing that and we started dividing people into categories, now we started to pick a picture of, okay, this seems to be the kind of customer that's a good fit for me. It's certainly the customer I enjoy working with. The next thing is, am I making any money with them? You know, but okay, let's assume that you've picked customers that you like working with, you enjoy the work that you're doing, you're good at it, and it's profitable. Now you want to start looking at, how do I clone these people? How do I find more people like that? Where did these people come from? Were they a referral? Did they take a seminar? Again, look at all your marketing and figure out what drove you. And then the other side of this is equally important. As you look at that list of your customers, who do you want to fire? Oh my God, you're going to get rid of a customer. Yeah, sometimes it's okay. And do the same exercise. Why do I want to fire this client? And sometimes it's because you and they aren't on the same path. I had a sales coach at one point that gave me this really nice sort of bell curve from acceptable, typical, ideal, and kind of too big. And that line moves as your business grows, as you get more focused. You know, when you first start your business, somebody comes up to you and says, can you paint the house red? You're like, will you pay? Yes, I can do that. But as you get into your business and you have more clients and you get more selective, you have these legacy clients that maybe aren't really what you want anymore. Well, you certainly want to stop attracting more of those. And then there is that moment where you have to say, okay, is this still a good fit for where my business has gone? So that the deciding, and you can do the demographic and you can do the psychographic and you can do all the classic marketing things. But the really, especially if you've been in business for a while, start with what's working for you, who you like working with and who you don't.
As you were talking, you said something that really struck a chord with me. They've invested their time, they're invested in the process. So they've invested time and money, but they're invested in the process. And I think for me, that's huge. Because if they're not invested in the process, it's probably not the ideal client or a long-term client.
For a lot of us in professional services, you wake up one day and you realize that you care more about the outcome than a particular client. And that's bad.
Yes.
Now, when I was in corporate, we had huge budgets. I came to understand that a lot of times people just wanted something so they could check it off their list. And my team was fulfilling a lot of that kind of work. And when I said, okay, I understand that's what we're doing, and I'm okay getting paid for that, so we're good. It's not my ultimate happy place, but that's the job. This is the client. I can do that. But I'm also not going to invest myself in the process.
Right.
You're not going to get my best work. You can't. So from a marketing standpoint, figuring out what are those rule breakers for you. What are those lines that if somebody is on the other side of it, that little red flag goes up, and then figure out, how do I keep those people away? How do I change my messaging? And that's the second thing is, the first thing is, who do you want to work with?
Yep.
The second thing is, now you got to figure out, how do you talk to them? And what do they want to hear? What do they want to read? What do you want them to know about you?
Right.
What is it? Yeah. So that's the second piece of it, is sort of your unique selling proposition. What makes you uniquely qualified to solve their problem?
Yes, because that's the thing, solving their problem. Right. And figuring out what that is and talking to that. Yeah. And I think a lot of us are in businesses where we could solve lots of problems.
Yes,
but
we can.
Then that kind of goes back to number one, but what's the problem of the ideal customer, right?
Yes. And I used to say, you want to think about the center of your circle. You can work with a lot of people and you can solve a lot of problems, but right in the center of that circle is that small group of ideal people. Now, if some of these people show up and you got bandwidth, you're going to do business with them, but you don't want to spend any of your resources. And the example I always give is lava soap. Okay. It has a very specific purpose. If you do any kind of repair work, you have a container of like WD-40 in your home. Okay. It's magic. It lubricates everything. It also does not come off your hands.
True.
It doesn't, except if you use lava soap. Now, interesting side note, lava soap is actually made by the company that makes WD-40. Think about that for a moment.
Isn't that interesting? I didn't even know that.
But their marketing, who do they target? They target the blue collar worker who's coming home from work covered in grease. They target what I call the blue collar hobbyist, the white collar worker who on the weekend works on the cars, fixes the lawnmower. Okay. But there is a characteristic that maybe a little bit less, but not really, is that their audience is male. They are still very much a man's product. About the last group of people, they might target some women, but the last group of people that they would target would be a middle-aged white woman with an MBA. I mean,
That's not their target.
That's not their target. But my friend Denise loves to work on cars. And she's been doing it since she was 20. And you know what? She buys Lava soap. And so I know that's a really long-winded story, but the point there is they're not going to spend a nickel trying to find my friend Denise. She's going to find them.
Yes. Yes.
So when you're thinking about your marketing, you have your core, and then you got the Denises. Denise will find you.
Very true. Very true. So true. Hey, Time to Level Up listeners. On November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I will be holding a free masterclass, the I've Got This masterclass. We'll meet for 30 minutes each day, and yes, the replay is available, to talk about how you can stop feeling like you're in a game of dodgeball, where things are always being thrown at you, where, boom, there's another whammy, sick kid, dogs vomiting, boss changed the deadline, COVID, all the things. Learn how to adopt the mindset of I've got this. Go to www.andrealiebross.com/got this to register. See you on November 2nd. All right. So talk to me about measuring things.
Oh, that's my third, like when you said, Lorraine, 3 things. Would you hire somebody, give them a desk, a computer, and a paycheck every week and never check up on them?
No.
How many business owners do you think spend about the same amount of money on their marketing that they do on an employee? Quite a few.
Yeah, I would say a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, $30,000 a year sounds like a lot of money, but if you're doing AdWords, if you've got somebody doing digital marketing for you, if you've got any kind of marketing budget, or if you're realistic and you're doing it yourself and you're billing it at your hourly rate, you're still spending 30, 40 or more on marketing. If you don't measure, if you don't know what's working or not working, it's like hiring an employee and never checking on their work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think when you put it in those terms for business owners, they're like, well, yeah, I probably should do. Yes, you probably should.
You probably
now, when it comes to measuring, you can make yourself crazy. You can have a dashboard that has 100 metrics and you're always looking at the numbers and you'll never get anything done. What you need to do is you need to think about your sales process. Obviously, you're going to look at sales, but sales is the end of the line. So what are the key performance indicators that you can look at that are further upstream? So, for example, back in the day before the pandemic, when people actually went to live events, if I could put 6 people in a classroom, I would get 1 customer out the other end. If I had an opportunity to spend an hour with 6 business owners who'd come to hear me speak, 6 and 1. So the number I tracked was registrations for my classes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started doing more digital, the ratio is very different on webinars. It's way, you might have 10, 15, or 20 to 1. And so again, a lot of your coaches and consultants have to be realistic. And right now, the performance because I track this and I've tracked it for a decade, I can tell you the conversion performance on webinars is way down. Because people are zoomed out.
Yes.
But I know that, so I can make adjustments. How do I change the course? What do I need to do to tweak to get more people to register, to get more people to attend? But if I'm not tracking it, sales at the end of the month is a surprise.
Right.
I look at web traffic, but the thing I also look at is where's the traffic coming from? Because that's what really tells me which of my marketing is working.
Mm-hmm.
I like to tell businesses that your organic traffic should be twice as high as your direct. Why? Because organic traffic is traffic that is coming to you from people who don't know you by name, but they are looking for what you do. That's how they found you.
Yep.
Direct traffic is great. Don't get me wrong. I love direct traffic, but that's people who already know you. And so, you've already got them in your circle. They may already be on your email list. They may already know you on social media. So I'm not discounting that. But don't get all excited about that. What you want to know is organic. And then also look at where your social media is. And right now, social media, I have a love and hate relationship with all the social media platforms because they're all playing games with the algorithm, and
aren't they? It seems like it's very different than it was even a couple months ago.
Yeah. Facebook was one of the first. They cut your audience down by about 90% unless you advertised. So there was that.
Okay.
They penalize you if you use links in your posts, and now LinkedIn is starting to do that too. They are de-emphasizing video that is not coming through the live. So LinkedIn Live is more important than ever. If you do not have LinkedIn Live yet, you need to apply. You need to apply every damn day. You just keep sorry, that's not so ladylike.
That's okay.
But you need to apply, and they'll be like, well, we'll be back in touch in 2 weeks. Great. The next morning you apply again. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Great. You'll apply again. Hey, I've been applying for the last 2 weeks. I haven't heard from you. How am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are not using LinkedIn Live and you're just posting videos, nobody's seeing them.
Right.
And it's a game we have to play, and the rules change.
Yes.
And so that kind of a side note.
Okay.
All of the social media, all the platforms, all the networking, everywhere you go is all secondary to your website. It is the only place that you hold all the cards. It is the only place where you can deliver the message you want to deliver in exactly the way you want to deliver it without interruptions. And so your website,
you're right, without interruptions,
and your email newsletter, that's gold. Everything else is designed to drive people to that, because the rules can change. The new iPhone operating system is going to limit. You have the option when you upgrade to the new system. Do you want to allow this app to continue to monitor you? And the opt-out rate is like 80 and 90%. People are like, no, go away.
Right.
And so without that, what that means to me as an advertiser, the game has completely changed, because I rely on that information on, did people like this?
Right.
What are they looking at? Are they here? Are they there? Can I do geographic targeting? Guess what? No, not anymore. Because that privacy wall is coming up. So what that's going to mean is your ads are going to be more expensive, and they're going to have to be more generic, because you won't be able to focus as tightly as you want, which is why building your email list and driving traffic to your homepage has to become your first obsession.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. My friends that do Facebook advertising and Google advertising are just, we've known this is coming. It was not a surprise.
Right.
But you're still like, oh my God, this is, and we'll get over it, and there'll be the next thing. But at the end of the day, if you've got a good website and you are consistently adding good content that you can then share and promote and send out, but you are building that home, in the long run, you will succeed in a way that building your entire empire on Facebook won't work.
That is definitely true, because the rules change too fast.
I always tell people it's kind of like going to a singles bar. You're going to go, you're going to meet a lot of nice people, you're going to have some fun conversations, but your end game is to bring your date home. And home is your website.
Right.
Home is your email newsletter list.
Right. But it's interesting because a way to grow email lists are Facebook ads and things like that. So it's also intertwined, but yet if Facebook isn't cooperating, then it's.
You use the ads to grow the list, but then you got to move the conversation somewhere else. You got to give people a reason to stay connected to you. And even that, I'm noticing I am looking at my email newsletter schedules, and I'm looking at formats and things that worked 2 and 3 years ago, which again, it goes back to measuring.
Yeah.
Is changing.
It's all changing. Well, it's a lot to keep up on, don't you think?
Yes. And I don't think that you have to be an expert in everything. I think, again, you pick a few things and you do them well. And what I always do is maybe once a year kind of review not just my social media platform, but also my tech stack, because this is that insidious $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. I have a running list of every software product I subscribe to. And there was when I was running the agency, it was easily $1,000, $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would do that every year and go, you know what? We don't use that tool anymore. We got that for that customer or that project, and we're paying $50 a month. Zip, hello, $600.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I interviewed somebody once, and she said the rule with your tech stack is before you add, you have to figure out what it's going to replace. And if it's only replacing one product, is it worth the learning curve? If it's going to take the place of 2 or 3 products, now it's worth considering.
Oh, that's a really good rule of thumb. I like that. Yeah, I look at mine every month, actually, when I go through my bookkeeper. And a lot of times she'll say, or I'll buy, like you said, $10. I'm like, oh, let's try this. And are you using this? No. Are you? No.
And the $10 ones are the most insidious because you just sort of leave them.
Well, you get the 7-day trial. So then you forget and the 7-day trial is over.
Yep.
So, okay. So how should I don't want my listeners to forget about you. So how can they find you? And tell us about your digital
toolbox. It is digitaltoolbox.club. And it is an online resource for business owners. We have webinars, we have white papers and workbooks. It's a membership community. There are a lot of free resources so you can kind of plug around and figure out what you like. Eventually, we do ask you to join, but membership's pretty affordable. It's $24.99 a month. And I know I just talked about all the other stuff that you get rid of.
If it's replacing things, then it's worth it, right?
And we always have some introductory webinars that are free that kind of get you started. And I'm really excited. We are launching a new learning management system. I have my first course built where instead of doing a webinar, because as a teacher, what I know is you can't master a subject in 30 minutes.
You cannot.
But what you can do is take that 30 minutes and break it up into 5 pieces of 6 minutes each with an assignment that allows you to practice what I'm talking about and then go on to the next one. And so that is actually where I think all of the Digital Toolbox training is going to go. But at a minimum, go to digitaltoolbox.club, sign up for the newsletter, check out some of the resources. And then if you just love listening to me, I mean, if that really is your thing, and I hope that it is, more than a few words is a marketing conversation. And Andrea, you were a guest.
I was.
And they're short, they're little 10-minute conversations. You can pop them in your ear, listen to 2 or 3 as you go out for a walk, because the weather is still beautiful. And we need that outdoor air.
We do. Well, it has been a pleasure as always. You are a wealth of knowledge. I love talking to you. Every time I do, I'm like, ooh, that was good. I should remember that or put that into play or do something with it. Right. So, and if you're listening, all of Lorraine's contact info will be in the show notes, and go subscribe, or I guess now it's called follow her podcast. There's no subscribing anymore. That's another whole thing. They changed it to follow on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. Anyway, go find her info at the bottom of the show notes, and hopefully we will get to chat with her again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Isn't Lorraine a wealth of knowledge and just fun to listen to? You know, one of my biggest takeaways from that conversation was when she was talking about your ideal or best client. And that ideal or best client is the person or the company that buys in and is engaged in the process. And I find that so true in my own business. The people I love working with, and I think the people that gain the most from coaching are the ones who are engaged and bought in to the process. It's those people that see the results. So follow Lorraine if you want more amazing marketing tips, and really think about how you are marketing yourself or your business. I am here to help you. I'm here to show you how it's always time and it's always possible for you to upgrade your life and your business and level up. I can show you how. Let's do it. See you next week. Thanks for listening to the Time to Level Up podcast with me, your host, Andrea Liebross. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to this episode, I encourage you to take a screenshot and share it with them. Okay, now what about you? You've listened to the podcast, and if you now know that you're ready to upgrade your life, upgrade your business, upgrade you, then stop being only a listener and start being a liver, living that upgraded life. Head over to my website and schedule a call. Right there on that call, we'll start changing the way you think and act so that you can have the freedom to achieve the impossible in life and business and have the resources to do it. You deserve an upgrade. Let's do it.